Reflecting on the literacy program Read Boston, Harvard Graduate School of Education lecturer Rick Weisbord illustrates the connection between academic achievement and social emotional learning.
When I started Read Boston, and for the first 10 years of Read Boston, I was very involved in it. I was really harping on literacy a lot. I was saying, if kids don't read by third grade, it's a disaster. It's a disaster academically, but it's also a disaster social and emotionally, I think, because they're going to fail in school. Vocabulary is so important to reading success, and reading success is so important to school success. And we had kids who were coming into kindergarten in the Boston elementary schools with very impoverished vocabularies. We had a few kids that didn't even know the names of their body parts in kindergarten. So they didn't know words like knee or elbow. And it suddenly dawned on me one day that if you don't know words like knee or elbow, you probably don't have an adult that is playing with you and naming your body parts when you are an infant and when you are a toddler. And we also find that when we give parents, when we ask parents, or we have the expectation that parents are going to read to their kids 4 times a week, that a lot of parents, because they're very stressed and very busy, are soldiering through the reading. And the literacy folks started telling me that, when you soldier through the reading, when you just kind of march through it and make sure you get through your 20 minutes, very little impact on vocabulary. When you use the reading as a springboard for conversation about the larger world, and it's affectively a rich and vibrant experience, then you have a whole different literacy experience. So, it just got me thinking about the deep ways that literacy and affect are tied from birth, and the importance of reading being a relational activity from birth, and the importance of literacy being joyous at early ages too. And one of the things that also became clear is that at least some kids were bootstrapping their own reading development because they were loving reading. And so the affective experience of reading was so important as well. So I do think that they're intimately tied. I think from a policy perspective, you're either perceived as pro-MCAS, pro-academic achievement in terms of what you highlight, or pro-social emotional learning. And that from a policy perspective, it's very important to say, to highlight the whole agenda from my perspective, that of course social emotional learning is super important. Academic achievement is also super important. And what I meant by layering and sequencing is to identify quite publicly, here's where we're going to start, and here's our next phase, and here's our next phase. And that's sort of the way I think about it. And I was saying, in kindergarten, first, second, and third grade, we have so many kids in Boston who aren't reading. Reading really has to be our priority. And that isn't to say that we shouldn't do professional development around social emotional learning. We should. We got to think about how to integrate this in terms of the literacy mission, and we have to think about how to layer and sequence it over time.